Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another webinar in our Advisicon webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Pairing Up PM Methodology and Microsoft Tools. We want to take the right approach with the right tool. Here at Advisicon, our amazing team of trainers, developers, and technology consultants want to help you maximize your productivity and impact. And we do that through a blend of technology and methodology consulting. Our mission is to deliver technology, tools, and training to maximize impact, productivity, and purpose. A little bit about myself. Your presenter today is Sean. I am a project management professional. I also hold a CAPM. I do have a background in math education, and I have experience in implementing Microsoft 365 as a solution. I have a decade of experience delivering training and instruction, and in those training and instructions, I do enjoy good dad jokes and puns when appropriate. Here's a joke to get us started today. What do you get if you add 2 apples and 3 apples? That's right, you get a math problem. Thank you, math teachers. Oh, you didn't think too hard on that one, did you? Looking at today's agenda, we're going to talk about methodology. Like we said, the title is Pairing Up Methodology and Technology. So let's start with methodology. Let's see why does methodology matter and the right approach. What approaches are there to your projects? Then we'll look at some tech tools. Now that we know the methodology, let's explore the technology. Let's see what's out there that can pair up well with our methodology. Then we'll analyze that. We'll take an approach analysis. We'll say, well, what works best for each methodology? What tech will pair best? And then we'll bring it together. We'll have a swift summary and some key takeaways from this webinar. All right, let's dive into Methodology Matters. On screen, you have a statement. It says, every project is unique. Think about that thought. That's true just by the very definition of a project. Project delivers or produces a unique product, service, or result. So if the project is unique, that's true by definition. But if we accept this premise, then we must reject a one-size-fits-all approach that covers every project. That idea, that mindset might be difficult to accept at first because it does require project managers to get out of a comfortable box and adapt to the project. But be reminded that doing the project right is project management. So let's look for the different approaches, and hopefully we can drive towards a right approach based on the unique project. Projects don't come in necessarily a one-size-fits-all, right? They don't also come in a easily to place box. Projects are of different sizes, different scopes. So let's look at projects on a spectrum. Here on screen, all the way to the left of your screen, you'll see projects that are high certainty. Some characteristics that might define a high certainty project are a well-defined scope. The activities are sequence-driven. It's very conventional. It's something you've seen before, something that has been done before, maybe not in that specific location or with that specific customer, but things that we have seen before. Also, for the customers, you really don't need much feedback from the customers. There's a lot of understanding already done in the planning of what the project will look like. So all the requirements are very much validated right up front. Go all the way to the right of your screen. We have this idea of high uncertainty, a vague scope. The idea exists in the mind of the customer, but they're not quite sure exactly what it looks like, but they have some ideas. The product is not so much sequence-driven, but function-driven. Well, we are aiming to pull out functions out of this project rather than just driving from A to Z in the tasks. Furthermore, high uncertainty projects tend to be very customized, right? Again, it's been done before. So, for the Wright brothers, seeing this thing with wings was like, what is that? Oh, that's a plane. Well, fast forward to our current times, and planes are very conventional. But back then, that was a very customized product. So, high uncertainty, what is it supposed to do? Furthermore, high uncertainty projects require a lot of feedback. Again, it exists only in the mind of the customer. So as a project manager, project team, we need to say, hey, customer, is this what you're thinking? No? Okay, well, how can we pivot from there? So that's why you have high uncertainty with the projects as well. And of course, you have everything in between. Let's look at some examples of these pictures on the bottom of the page. High certainty projects might be things like houses or bridges. We've seen them before. We know that you need, part A before part two, before part C, before part D. So it's very sequence driven. With the house, you do need to lay the foundation before you lay the first floor, before you can lay the second floor. And also with blueprints, the customer very much already has approved what the house should look like. The construction team just now needs to go and drive it from ground to roof. Going to the right side of this project spectrum, you might have things like software. Software is very unique towards customer needs, right? An organization might have specific needs concerning operations, and then this software needs to comply with organizational as well as governmental policies. And don't forget, they want it to be secure, but also have some pieces visible and editable while working remotely. So you got a lot of specific needs, very customizable needs, and again, probably hasn't existed before. And because the project is very vague, again, feedback is essential for software. Say, customer, is this what you wanted to do? Okay, what would make it better? How would you like to see it otherwise? And on the far right, you have this picture of the light bulb. The idea, again, being that maybe it's something that has never been done before. So you do need to have like what's called an iterative process. You need to take it one piece at a time. Is this what it looks like? How about now? Is it this size? How about now? Again, all this to say is that projects are on a spectrum. You can have deliverables ranging from very clear, because it's been done before, all the way to things that only exist in the mind of the customer. Well, with all this wide range of spectrum, how do we approach the range of projects? On the left, think of a high certainty project like a big Mack truck. It can't quite take turns at high speeds, but it can move a lot of things. It's very sequenced. It's very linear. It can drive. It can move a large amount of things. That type of approach might often be referred to as waterfall. Very predictive. A, B, then C, then D. And it has this idea that, it has a clear start and a clear finish. Again, with the example of the house. Look on the right of the screen, you have high uncertainty projects that fall into what's often broadly termed Agile. Agile, with just like the name suggests, the project is adaptive. It hears the customer's feedback and it shifts to the needs. Things can get prioritized over other features, and then it requires a lot of discussion between the project team and the end users, the customers. So here's generally those two terms, what I want you to get from this slide here: waterfall and Agile. Now, if you've even heard of the name Agile, you might have heard of other terms that fall under Agile, and those being Scrum and Kanban, for example. There are many more, but I want to highlight these two because they're common and they're easy to contrast. Now, Scrum, in the top half of our slide here, Scrum is organized by what's termed sprints. They're time chunks where you do just this amount of work. Only that amount, and just like the word sprint suggests, we're moving really fast through that section. Scrum operates under what's called a push model. The requirements, the things we're working on, are pushed to the project team because we determined that this 2-week box, 4-week box of time, these are the things we can do. We can do these big things and a few of these small things, but we push the tasks to the team. Looking at the bottom half of the screen, again, at Kanban. Kanban, it refers to the visual cardboard. That's literally what it means in Japanese. And that's how you organize your tasks. There's a visual board with perhaps all your tasks, all your product features on the left-hand side of the board. And you pool, as the bottom box suggests, you pool tasks based on what's next, based on the priorities. So you kind of look at a whole project process. You don't work in these time box phases. You say, all right, I'm done with, that the project team will say, I'm done with this task. Let me pull the next item at the top. And you move it along this process. So these are, while they're both agile and quickly shifting in nature, they have its own unique features, its own advantages as well. Looking at this slide, I want to highlight how project success rates in Agile versus Waterfall. Now, quickly, you might notice that Agile has a higher success rate than Waterfall, right? 42% versus 13%. It also has a lower fail rate, according to this group, 11% versus 28%. Well, the immediate reaction is, okay, everyone do Agile then, right? Well, that's not necessarily the good takeaway from this. The good takeaway might be, was Agile the right approach? Was Waterfall the right approach? Waterfall isn't a bad approach, it just best fits some type of projects. Agile isn't a better approach, it just better fits some type of projects, right? There still is an 11% failure rate. So I share this with you to say, be mindful of what exactly are we doing? Is the scope clear? Do I need to shift the scope? Do I need a lot of feedback, or don't I need a lot of feedback as I'm building? So be very mindful of your methodology, because it does matter. All right, now let's look at tech tools that might help you work and complete your project. Here's something to think about. Use the right tool for the right job in the right way. It's very simple and easy just to say, okay, what do I know? And let me just start using that, right? To the carpenter who loves using hammers, everything is a nail, right? That's how I'm going to solve all my problems. But maybe I don't need a hammer in this situation. Maybe a screwdriver is more appropriate. Maybe you need a wrench. So be mindful again with the right tool to do the right job, or in project terms, maybe the right task in the right way. All right, we'll start with Microsoft Project, the legacy tool, often called a project for desktop. What is it? Really, people have their own definitions, but we like to say that it is a database manager. It has tables and groups and data, and it just connects them, it manages them in the ways that you would like to. It is very configurable to meet your enterprise needs. And in fact, that's, we'll say, one of the best features of the legacy project, Microsoft Project, is that it's very much useful for enterprises. And when I say enterprises, I mean things like you have a resource pool, you have project templates, and maybe you want to a timesheet. Looking at the screen here, looking at that top image, you might notice that it's very much like an Excel spreadsheet, very much just columns and rows, things laid out. You can even embed or nest tasks under certain phases. You might want to group them by deliverable, and notice that you can even have milestones there where you can say this phase is complete, and then notice the dates that can go along with them, and other relevant information. Looking at that bottom screenshot, that's one of, again, the enterprise feature, that you can have all your projects in a view. You can see red, yellow, green indicators, project health, project hours, remaining budget, things like that, that are best fitted for an enterprise. Now, a downside of the Microsoft Legacy project is that perhaps it's too much tool. It is a big tool, and it does have a lot of features, but maybe your organization, your projects, don't need that much tool. So just think about the sizing, right? Someone who wears medium shirt, extra large shirt is not for them. Next, a fairly new tool, and it's still ever customizing, ever worked on tool by Microsoft, Project for the Web. So what is it? It's a cloud-based version of Project. Now, Project Online does have the information cloud-based as well, but the difference is that it doesn't have the enterprise roll up. You can't see, you don't have this view natively in Project for the Web of all your projects. So it lacks that enterprise view. But maybe for your organization, that's not as important. It's great that it's web-based, and so my remote work teams can access the projects, can view. I can even distribute tasks, through the web. And there are a number of enjoyable features. So if I start at the top box, you notice that you do have that spreadsheet view. So you can have that complexity of tasks, and you can even link the task, as in the bottom picture. You can have precedents, predecessors, and you can connect the tasks. You can even add milestones there. And it's as I mentioned, it's an ever expanding, ever growing view of a project for the web. In the middle screenshot, you can see some of the new features that they're still adding. For example, on the right-hand side, you can see where it says sprints. You can easily group your tasks by sprints. You don't have to manually label them as a bucket. You could say, this task in the build-out phase, for example, maybe this is the sprint view. So very customizable, very useful tool. There are some reports that can come through Project for the Web. I mentioned that you don't have the enterprise view, but you can still get reports on individual projects. Things like which tasks are not started or in progress, maybe even late. And then, of course, we want to know what's done, what's completed. You can also break out hours effort by resource for that project. So who's maybe overburdened. So simple, light touch project management tools, not as heavy as the legacy project. Thirdly, and the last tool that we'll be looking at is Microsoft Planner. What is it? It's a work management tool, much like Project, but very much lightweight. This is for the light work management. If you look at the top picture there, it does look like a Kanban board. You do have buckets. You can call them phases as well, but you do have, and you can list cards underneath, which will be your tasks. The board itself, the tasks themselves are very customizable. As far as progressing your tasks, it's simple progression. In Project, you might have the hours progressed, and you can see percent, is it 38%, 62%, 81%? How far along is it? Contrast that with Planner, you just have done or in progress. There are some reporting features that come with Planner. They are, again, tied to the individual projects and not an enterprise view. One of the useful features of Planner is that it does play well with To-Do and Teams. So for many organizations, that is a very useful feature. I can see just my bucket of work in my individual view on Teams or To-Do. Another benefit of Planner, it's a cost-effective solution. If you have a Microsoft 365 solution, you have Planner. All right, now let's look at different approaches and how we can start to tie in the tools. But first, pop quiz. True or false? Planner can only be used for Kanban methodology. What do you think? Second question, true or false? Project, meaning the legacy Microsoft project, can only be used for Waterfall methodology. If you answered false on both questions, you're correct. These are commonly held misconceptions about the Microsoft tools, that they only fit into one methodology. The tools are just tools. There might be a best fit for each tool, the way a power drill is best fit to drill. But I have seen a skilled craftsman use a power drill as a hammer. Right, so don't be boxed into commonly held misconceptions about our Microsoft project tools. Look at the benefits as well as the limitations of the tool and work within those. So as we mentioned, all tools can be used regardless of methodology. This image here illustrates that any tool can be used for any type of project. That's strange to think, but Planner can be used for a highly complex project that holds up to 9,000 task cards. And, you simply progress the task as in progress or done. But when the project gets to that size, with that many tasks, it tends to have a larger budget, right? Because you got so much work going on. So you actually want to be able to show progress of your effort along with the burn down of your budget so that you have an idea about how healthy is that project, how is it going. Now, you contrast that with the legacy tool of project, and you don't think that it could actually be used for those customizable, function-driven, vague scope projects? Well, it absolutely can. You can set up project as a sprint board where new tasks or new priorities are added into a new phase, and then you do have that benefit of tracking your effort, your time sheeting to those tasks so that you can report metrics like, for example, earn value. So we're breaking the boundaries that the project stack it must be bound by methodology. There are better fits, some tools fit better, but it just comes down to what do you want to get out of the tool? Methodology, it does matter, but it's not bound by the technology. Still, the question is, where might they best fit? Well, looking at the screen here is kind of where tools might best fit with a methodology with the type of project. So as mentioned before, project is an enterprise management tool. So you can turn on features like time sheeting, as I said before, resource capacity planning. But more importantly, when your project scope is very clear and you have in scope and out of scope and the sequence is very clear, then utilize the simple and straightforward spreadsheet view of project. When your planning phase is very clear on the deliverables, you just list them along with the associated tasks and just drive fast and straight, just write down the waterfall. But in contrast, if the scope is very unclear and you might be shifting throughout the life of the project because this idea is very unconventional, then I suggest using the flexible board style in Planner. Planner actually has 25 different labels so now you could possibly use 25 different priorities to say, this priority 1 gets done before a priority 4, before a priority 8. Furthermore, that board view of Planner allows for that Kanban work style. It's always suggested that Kanban boards be done with high touch, so in person, and you can physically move the tasks across the phases. But with remote work and a virtual working world, even more common, Planner would be a tool to meet that need. Now, of course, if you want a best of both worlds, standing somewhere in the middle is Project for the Web. It is not as big as the legacy project, but definitely more robust than Planner. But of course, it comes down to what best fits the needs of the project, because as we said before, every project is unique. Now, projects are unique. What about the tasks? Let's look at another level down. What about the tasks? I would argue that tasks are unique. The planning and testing phase of a project doesn't require iterations as much as the development or the build phase might be. So, how should we address the spectrum of tasks, and how does that impact our tool choice? I contend that it's of greater benefit to examine each task and pair the appropriate method. We would call this hybrid project methodology. You blend a little bit of the waterfall and bring in some agile aspects, and you say what methodology best fits the task. So a little more granular, and then very much a little more useful, a little more customized towards the needs of the project. Just like how we were able to use the right tool for the right project, we can use the right tool for the right task. And really, that's where Project for the Web is finding its sweet spot. There exists both the sequencing feature, for example, of project that Planner doesn't have, but you can pair it with the ability to report effort along with the flexibility to use a cardboard or Kanban view. We have other webinars demonstrating the functions and uses of Project for the Web. Please check those out for a more in-depth understanding. All right, let's bring it all together in a swift summary. To get started, be mindful of your methodology. Your methodology does matter because your project is unique. Uh, Consider the scope. Is it certain or uncertain? Do I need feedback, or do I not need feedback as we work? So consider your methodology. Next, consider your technology. Is your organization, is your project team mature, that we need the big enterprise tools, or is it still growing in its project management understanding? And really, Planner will be just fine for now. Maybe it's more cost effective for our organization just to use the tools that come with our Microsoft 365 solution. And then, of course, think about your needs. Do we need tasks to be sequenced? How important is that? Are we reporting against large budgets that require the weekly or biweekly reports so that we can report and inform our stakeholders on the health of the project? And lastly, analyze, think about your methodology, think about your technology, and blend it together. Can certain phases of your project be waterfall? Just straightforward, task A, B, C, then D, and so on. And then can we, or does it really require agile aspects? Keep being iterative on how and what the deliverable looks like. Or, as I think is very much useful in our project world today, blend the methodologies. Don't be boxed in. What is useful at the task level to be waterfall? Use a waterfall approach. What is useful for the tasks that require an agile, iterative process? Use agile. And see the benefits of using a hybrid methodology. Thank you again for watching this webinar. Advisicon has been providing project, program, and portfolio management consulting, as well as training services for over 25 years. We are a Microsoft Gold partner and experts in the Microsoft stack. Give us a call to schedule a free 30-minute consultation. Please feel free to reach out with any questions, like or follow us on our social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We offer many free trainings in our online academy. You can access those by visiting advisicon.thinkific.com. For project managers, simply become a member of Advisicon Academy to redeem PDUs. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time.